Manchester City 1, Inter Milan 0. Taking a look at the treble winners over the years, of course, Manchester City looking to emulate what the red half of Manchester did in the past, and they have done that now. Only the second English side to complete the treble. Well, as promised, Stuart Robson joins us. We'll be speaking to Robbo in a minute. Do I start negative? Obviously, Manchester City have just won the final, and it was great.
I can do that for you.
But just from a spectacle, from a neutral's point of view, this was disappointing, wasn't it?
Well, I thought I'd be sitting here, and we'd be sitting here talking about a swashbuckling City performance that was comfortable 2 to 3 goals, because that's kind of what we've seen. Certainly, we saw it in the Real Madrid game. But in their biggest moment in the history of their football club, the treble, but more importantly, the Champions League, it was arguably one of their worst performances at this level. Now, a lot of that is down to how Inter played. I think Inter at this level played as well as they could, and City probably played as poorly as they have done for a long time. But you give Inter some credit for the way they harassed and pressed and congested the midfield, and the wing-backs defended brilliantly, and Haaland never got a kick, literally. Yeah. Never got a kick, he had that one strike. But I think some of it came down to the moment got to some of the City players. I've not seen passing as bad as that from the centre-halves, from Gundogan, from Rodri, Jack Grealish, Erling Haaland's touch. I just felt that the hesitant performance from a lot of these players was because of the magnitude of what was in front of them. And they got it done in the end, which is absolutely brilliant from their perspective. But I never for a moment thought it would be as difficult as it was.
Was it nerves, Stevie? Was it the occasion? Was it the end of a long season?
Fundamentally, I don't agree, because players of this calibre, I talked about it yesterday, that the occasion doesn't get to these types of players. And I still find it very difficult to believe that the occasion got to them. But I'm struggling to come up with a reason why they were so poor.
Could you say that Inter played so well their game that it put them off?
Well, I think, you've got to give them credit for harassing them as they did. But at the same time, if I'm playing for Inter and I'm playing against a side who supposedly is going to pass us off the park, but who can't string 2 passes together properly, all that's going to do is encourage me to close down even quicker. And that's what happened. We've never seen Man City players... Man City at their best move the ball quickly, there's great movement, and the passing's accurate. Well, we never saw any of those 3 things today at all. But as I said, if you're an Inter player and that's what the opposition are doing, it just encourages to keep running, keep chasing, keep closing, and keep harassing them.
While there may have been an element of surprise because Inter was willing to press higher up the field, something that perhaps we were not expecting, and more importantly, Manchester City were not expecting. This is not the first team that presses Manchester City, that harasses Manchester City. This is not the first team that gets numbers around the ball. What we usually see is Manchester City being able to play through that pressure and out of that pressure and then find spaces in the attacking half. Now, if you ever needed any evidence as to what this game was like for Manchester City, we heard it in the post-game interviews.
Yeah, don't use any of those words.
No, I will not, but Rodri and Jack Grealish, back-to-back interviews, they both said, this is not me saying it, they both said, basically, we were crap.
Yep.
And that they individually had not been good. They said it. And that's 2 players that have been really important for Manchester City. And you can say that about many other players on the field for Manchester City. In fact, outside of John Stones, Bernardo Silva, everybody else, Mami, Ruben Diaz perhaps, but after that, everybody underperformed. Everybody was underwhelming. So the thing that really matters here for Manchester City is that they won. And that's a really only important thing. But in terms of the game and the performance from Manchester City, Mami, it was not good at all.
I heard you saying before the show, Robbo, that this was a fascinating tactical battle. That's never a good way to describe a game.
No, it wasn't fascinating from Man City's point of view. They play their normal way, although they played Kevin De Bruyne on the left-hand side, where he's been playing most of the time on the right-hand side. And they actually, in the first half, played John Stones as a right-back who came into central midfield, rather than as he did in the game against Real Madrid and against Manchester United, where he was an out-and-out midfield player. He did that in the second half to much better effect. But I'm looking at it from an Inter point of view. I couldn't see how they were going to stop Man City getting good possession. But I thought their tactical understanding, the position that their players took up was excellent. Well, I thought Darmian and Bastoni would sit in a back three. They didn't. They came out when Barella went to close Ake down. Darmian came out and pressed the ball high up the field. I thought they got it tactically right perfectly in the first half. They're closing down their positional play, their understanding of what their jobs was when Man City had the ball was really, really good. The only problem was, where was the threat going to come from? And if you are going to defend well, you have to have a threat going forward. And they didn't in the first half because Dzeko was playing as a centre forward. Martinez was playing almost on the left-hand side at times to stop Stones coming forward from his right-back position. And they couldn't really get any attacks going. But defensively, I thought they were excellent. And that's why Man City couldn't get their passing game going.
Well, I don't know, Robbo. I think there's an argument for a good tactical side of the game. And there's definitely an argument for a very sloppy passing element of the game for Man City. We're not talking about, they harassed them a little bit, but we're talking about, in the first half, a dozen passes that were simple passes, not finding a man. And somebody was having to change direction and go and fetch it. And so the momentum had sort of fell down. As Ali said, it's not their first rodeo for teams pressing, harassing, getting bodies around the ball. And they find a way to get around them. But it's not a Champions League final. And I felt there was a little bit of both today in terms of, Inter made it much more difficult than I thought they would. But City underperformed much more than I thought they would. They were way under par in terms of the standards that they set. But I go back to the team selection. We didn't think we'd be sitting, when we come in and watch this game, we didn't think we'd be having a discussion about what the hell's he doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Kyle Walker.
We thought he's over that.
Now, Kyle Walker had a back injury, but apparently he was 100% fit to play. And I just wonder again if the players in the dressing room are going, it was 2 or 3 years ago, it was Gundogan and no holding midfielder. Now this back line has been performing brilliantly. I mean, brilliantly. Walker, Diaz, Akanji. Big, strong, fast. Right? Now, Ake comes in. He's a physical player. But it's not that same line. And I just felt that, why? It's not the reason that maybe that they played badly. And they did keep a clean sheet, albeit there was a huge element of luck within that and poor finishing. But again, I just thought, why at the start of the game not just roll out that same 11, and when Walker gets the ball on the right, he can push for it. I know Rob was saying John Stones was out there, but John Stones was actually the most, what's the word? Impressive and composed player on the ball for long periods in that Man City side.
And again, it has to be why.
So why?
I have no idea, Dan. Absolutely no idea. You completely annihilate Real Madrid 4-0 with John Stones and Walker. John Stones coming from centre back into the middle. Why would you possibly change it, really? Do you think Inter Milan are better than Real Madrid? No. I mean, Pep Guardiola said that Walker was 100% fit and that he was making a change because of the way they wanted to play. I mean, so you're upsetting the whole apple cart after a performance that we were all salivating about, annihilating Real Madrid, of all teams, playing them off the park. I mean, just incredible. And then you change it. I mean, that smacks of just being too clever.
City did win this game, by the way.
Yeah, they did.
And they did so by a goal that gets better and better every time you see it, I feel.
Now, I just said, Rodri himself said that he wasn't good, that he had been terrible. In that moment, he was really good. In that moment, joining in the attack, getting onto the rebound. They get fortunate for the rebound that falls into his path. But as everybody's moving across, he now realizes the space is right here. I can get it around the defenders. I'm going to finish 1-0. And that's about as good as it was going to get from Manchester City. One player that I think we all appreciate and love for Manchester City is Erling Haaland, right? Let me just get to Haaland for a second. It might as well have been Jan out there playing.
Oh, no.
Oh,
and
steady.
Well, and the fish. Look, the team was needing somebody to be able to hold the ball up because of that pressure that was coming from Inter, and that ball was going to get played into Erling Haaland. He's got to hang on to it, or win a header, or do something. Acerbi winning everything. Bastoni winning everything. Erling Haaland, big guy, and he's playing like he's 5'5". That just doesn't add up for me. He's a guy that I think in this moment could have really helped the team. Now, we're not going to focus on him all that much simply because they went on to win the game. But, man, it was a disappointing performance from his perspective.
I was trying to be positive for a moment.
I don't think we're being negative. I think we have a duty here to analyse this game that was in front of us. We've watched coverage today that was nothing more than sycophantic cheerleading for Manchester City, Manchester City, Manchester City, the greatest thing in the world. Even one comment, this is statues galore for the players outside. So I think we have a job to do here, not to get carried away with, what City have done this year has been magnificent. What they did today was not magnificent. There was a huge element of luck. They took out of their hands the control of the game that they've had for months and put it back in the hands of a side that really shouldn't be at the races with them. As good as Inter are in terms of the players they've got, City are a furlong ahead, right? But it's hard to put it into words. These players will be celebrating. Ali mentioned it. Jack Grealish come over and said, I was awful today. Let's think through the City side. Akanji had a couple of good headers at the end, but he looked ropey. Yeah. Diaz was strong in the second half. Gundogan, bad game. De Bruyne injured. Rodri had a poor game up to his goal for sure. Haaland never got a kick. Jack Grealish, by his own words, was awful. And Bernardo Silva just about got a pass, didn't he, Steve?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we are. And that's the big surprise in this, is that City almost handed on a plate one of the big upsets in Champions League finals, because they were so far in front in terms of the bookies. They were going to, and even in our minds, we looked at the scores and the graphics. I went for 3-0. Everybody thought it was going to be comfortable.
They got a chance because he threw a ball in the box. Akanji whiffed. The ball's headed off the crossbar, and then somehow it doesn't go in. So at the end of the day, we're right about City, and we can praise Inter for the way they defended. But you know what? Guess what? There's two parts to the game. There's the defensive side of the game, and there's the attacking side of the game. And if you can do the defending side well, but you can't attack at all, pretty much, you're not going to win a game. And you're never going to get a better chance if you're Inter to play against a team that's generally so good that was so bad. You're never going to get a better chance. But yet they never offered us anything, proper football going forward at all.
Just going back to the Haaland point, Robbo, what went wrong with him today?
His movement was shocking. His understanding of where the space was really poor today, because they're absolutely right. If Inter Milan were pressing the ball and Darmian was coming out and going on to Kevin De Bruyne, who was playing sort of through the inside left position, there was space down the side of Acerbi, who can't run. Acerbi likes the ball in front of him. He can't run down the side. And I was screaming at the telly time and time again. Ake had the ball. He could have played the ball down the side. And if Haaland had made the right run, he'd have got down the side time and time again. But he didn't realise where the space was. And then when balls were played into his feet, as the ball was being played into his feet, he was going backwards. Acerbi was stepping forward and winning the ball again. So I thought Haaland's understanding of the space and where he could receive the ball was really poor. Ali was absolutely right with his description of Haaland's performance. He had that one little run where he got away from Bastoni, and it was a fairly decent effort back across the goalkeeper. But apart from that, he looked like a player that, almost like a schoolboy playing amongst men, that didn't understand where the space was and how he could receive the ball. It was a really poor performance from him.
But why, Robert, given what we've seen from him this season?
Well, there has been games where he's done exactly the same, but Man City have played better and created chances for him. His general play hasn't been good this season. If you look at how he played when he was playing in Germany, he had more touches of the ball, he scored great individual goals. Most of his play and his goal scoring this season has been goals created for him. And he's been in the right areas at the right time, which is excellent centre-forward play. But his general play with his back to goal hasn't been good enough. His movement down the side of defenders when the ball's a long way away isn't very good. When it's in tight areas, in and around the box, he makes the right runs, as he did for his chance. But when the ball was much deeper, his movement wasn't good.
He scored a lot of goals, obviously, clearly, which is a magnificent achievement. But his hold-up play, I think, as Stuart was mentioning, he's back to play. His actual hold-up play and his touch and his awareness, I think a lot of times has been quite poor. Dare I say it, he was bullied tonight by...
Really?
Yeah, he was bullied by Bastoni and Acerbi in particular. And I mean, easily bullied. I mean, like, they would get tight to him and they were winning head. I don't think he won a header. He won a defensive header, which was great and needed. But when the ball came up to him and he needed to hold it or he needed to flick it on or knock it down, they were coming through the back of him, the back of him. They were bullying him. And then there was once in the second half, he actually shucked out a challenge. Ball was bouncing, it was there, and he saw the centre-half coming in, and he sort of dangled a leg at it.
That was a disappointing thing. There was no real fight back from him. He's 6'4". We're talking about how strong this guy is. We're talking about his pace and his strength. And yet, just the very basic thing that every fan in the world likes to see the players doing is putting their head where it matters or being brave in a challenge. He didn't do that. He didn't do that. I've got some sympathy with him because City was so poor with the ball that if you're playing centre forward, I mean, some of the balls he was given were atrocious and not surprising that he couldn't hold it. But just that simple basic thing of there was no pushback against two guys who were trying to bully them, as Craig said, and it almost seemed like he accepted it. That's disappointing.
He's usually the bully.
Yeah.
So that's a surprising part.
Oh, you know what they say about bullies? They don't like getting bullied.
Well, that's right. And maybe the occasion, maybe is the moment. Maybe you don't get a good first couple of touches and you're not sure about yourself. But you knew if you're preparing for this match and you're Erling Haaland, if you're Manchester City, what is Acerbi going to do? What is Bastoni going to do? What have they been doing? That is the way that they play. This is the strength of their game. They're going to try to bully you and they're going to challenge you physically. But if there was ever a player who plays up top in the world that should be able to handle this physicality, it should be Erling Haaland. I mean, if Erling Haaland cannot handle the physicality of the game, then we all have no chance. It's not you out there. It's not Seb out there.
Dare you?
Well, sorry, Dan.
You're thinking the same sentence as Seb.
It's ironic, though, that City, who we have thought were going to win this tournament before, and last year, absolutely battered Real Madrid in the semi-final from pillar to post, only from 89 minutes onwards to somehow lose 2 goals and throw it away, win it by doing the complete opposite.
Yes,
and maybe from their perspective, they say, well, that's just the way the rub of the green we've got today, because we haven't. There's been previous times when we've just completely rolled teams over, and for whatever reason, mainly their own fault, they've lost it. Today, they have not played anywhere near their best, and they've got that rub of the green. They got that rub of the green. There was the Akanji and Ederson hesitancy as well that Martinez got in. Tried to shoot. Maybe could have picked Lukaku out, but in all fairness, Diaz was close to him. So I wonder how... I'm sure they're not over-analysing the performance.
They don't care. I think it's...
I'm not doing a Rafa Benitez.
No. I think it's only fair that we're talking the way we are because we've all been saying how great they are.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, when they're not great, you've got to tell it how it is.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.